Amazing Aircraft. Written by Seymour Simon. People have always wanted to fly. The great scientist Leonardo da Vinci drew plans for flapping wing machines in 1487, over 500 years ago. But the first flight took place in France in 1783. The pilot was carried into the air in a hot air balloon that drifted with the wind. Two brothers, Wilbur and Orville Wright, made the first flights powered by an engine. On December 17, 1903, their plane took off from the sand dunes at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The longest flight lasted less than a minute and went 852 feet at a speed of 30 miles per hour. Early airplanes had thin wings covered with cloth. In 1909, Louis Blériot took off from France and flew 20 miles across the English Channel. His flight took 36 minutes. Today, you can fly the same distance in less than 3 minutes. American pilot Charles Lindbergh was the first to fly alone, non-stop, across the Atlantic Ocean. His plane, the Spirit of St. Louis, took off from Long Island on May 20, 1927. Nearly 34 hours later, he landed in Paris after flying 3,610 miles. Today, airliners fly from New York to Paris in less than 7 hours. The Hindenburg was an 800-foot-long airship filled with hydrogen gas. That is more than 3 times as long as today's 747 airplanes. The Hindenburg carried nearly 100 passengers across the Atlantic Ocean. But in 1937 it burst into flames while landing in New Jersey. Many people died in the explosion. Planes that take off from and land on water are called seaplanes. The most famous flying boats were the Pan American Clippers in the late 1930s. The Clippers had 4 engines and flew almost 200 miles per hour. The Spitfire was a British fighter plane during World War II. It carried 2 cannons and 4 machine guns in its wings. Spitfires were used to attack German bomber planes. In 1940, Britain's Royal Air Force shot down so many German planes that the invasion of England was cancelled. The Douglas DC-3 was the first inexpensive passenger plane. DC-3s carried 20 passengers at 200 miles per hour for distances up to 1,500 miles. During World War II, DC-3s were used to carry parachute troops. After the war, thousands of DC-3s were used to carry passengers all over the world. The Boeing 747 made its first flight in 1969. It carried nearly 500 passengers at speeds of over 500 miles per hour. The 747 can stay in the air for 17 hours and travel more than 8,000 miles. The plane itself is longer than the distance of the Wright brothers' first flight. Helicopters have spinning wings on the top called rotors. They can take off straight up into the air and land straight down. Helicopters are used for medical emergencies and police work. They also carry military troops and construction machines. The biggest helicopters can lift over 80,000 pounds on one flight. Gliders are lightweight planes that have no motors. Instead, they float on air currents. Small hang gliders can be launched from the tops of hills and mountains. Big gliders are towed up into the air by planes with engines, then set free. The Concorde supersonic jet flies at over 1,300 miles per hour, more than twice the speed of sound. A Concorde can fly from New York to London in 3 hours, less than half the time of a 747. The Lockheed F-117 is a stealth fighter plane. Stealth means that the F-117 is hard to see on radar. That's because it's black. Flat surfaces absorb radar waves instead of bouncing them back. At night, The F-117 is almost invisible in every way. In the future, there will be huge planes that carry up to 800 passengers, nearly twice as many as a 747. The wings on this new cargo plane are over 250 feet long, almost the length of a football field. It once took people weeks or months to travel to distant places by boat, train, car, or bus. Today, we can fly to these places in a day or even a few hours. Aircraft have shrunk the world.